Let's talk about how you work with instances in Oxygen. This is an instance. It happens to be the instance that runs the course book, and we'll use it as an example of how to work with instances in Oxygen. First of all, get oriented to the window. The window really has the top area that you're used to with menus and buttons, and it has two side areas that you may be less used to. On the left side of the window are something called project, and we won't use really this much in the class. I haven't found much use for it myself, but it allows you to organize all your files into an overall XML project. I usually do that in a set of folders, and so I don't really need the project tab, but you may find it useful. And these tabs they really all have the same kind of functionality. If you want them there permanently, you click the little pin, and that pins it permanently to the side if for some reason you want to have it there all the time. And then you can click the pin again and it'll go away, but it'll always zoom in and zoom out as you need it. So another one is the outline, which we'll talk about presently. And then on this side we have different tabs that we'll go over as we need them, and they augment your typing. This is navigation on this side, as we've already established. That's kind of like a local navigation area. And over here we have a help you fill in the lines where you're at kind of area. And then across the top here you can see we have tabs, and these are all different XML files that I've opened in this user interface. So as I switch between one and the other, you'll see that I'm going into different files, and this area in the middle is all filled with the current file, and the side areas always orient to the file that's in the middle. Down at the bottom we have different views. We won't worry too much about the views because really we're going to, for each type of file, that's these down here, for each type of file will really be only in one view. Text view will be the main view that we use for looking at instances. Okay, so what else? Some buttons that you should pay attention to, the big ones really. Obviously these standard ones I don't have to explain to you, saving and opening and all that kind of stuff, and new. This button over here is the validate. You don't quite know what that does yet. Make sure that you see it. And then the one that we'll pay most attention to right now for instances is this one called Format and Indent, and often in other places called Pretty Print. And we'll work that one in just a moment. Okay, so that's the general orientation to the windows. We have navigation on this side, we have entry helpers on this side, we have the list of files that you have open on this side, we have the validate button. This, by the way, is also a transform button, which we'll get to later, and then this format and indent button. Okay, that's the orientation to the windows. Let's talk about how you move around in an instance. You can see first of all that we have line numbers here. So line numbers will always be useful to you to figure out exactly what line you're on, or when you get an error message you'll see a line number in there, etc. You can, for every element, you can click this little button here and close it up and open it up. So we can get down to our first line headings here by just closing up some of these lines. There. So I've closed and opened these lines. I can close and open the entire topic that we're on. I can close and open the description of the topic that we're on, or the outline, etc. That's how you close up an instance, and we can close it all the way up to the top doing that by just clicking progressively on these arrows. Now, the thing that you're going to want to pay attention to, especially as you get into more sophisticated XML files, is the outline. Let me just peg it onto the screen here. Outline gives you a full, you might call it a full table of contents of the entire file. So you can see in our course book file we have at the top level courses, description, topics, exercises, projects, activities, bibliography, sources, course infos, and boilerplates. Inside topics, we have inside the topics plural container, we have topic singular items. So each one of these is a topic, but these topics can have topics inside them. That's what gives us a hierarchy inside of our course book. And where we are right now is under info structure, and you'll see that this structure right here loosely corresponds to the structure of information in your full course table of contents. We are now at let's see, we're in the XML tab. Under XML, we're in XML instances, and now we're back to where we were. So that this outline tab is really useful in navigating around and seeing the full, I think the best way to think about it is the full table of contents of the XML file that you're in. So let me get rid of that so it's not in our way anymore. And let's see, I'm going to have to bring it back because I lost my place. That's another good thing it does for you, is it gets you back to your place. There. Okay, so Oxygen will change depending on the kind of file that you're viewing. At the moment, we're viewing an instance file, and that's the here. But let me show you what it looks like when you go to different files. When you go to a schema file, now it gives you this schema view. So we could still have a text view, but we like the schema view because the schema view shows us schematically what's happening it shows us schematically what's happened in the schema. When we go to a transform file, I happen to have a transform file here, we see that as well. And all XML, as you'll learn over the course of this course, but it's different. It's XML that has different purposes. So the window changes. The window changes its perspective, and it changes what you're allowed to do based on where you are. And as we get into these other types of files, besides instances, we'll have more use for, or we'll pay more attention to exactly how it changes.